Hello, and welcome to Oakville Matters. Thanks to Kojiko and your TV, this is the opportunity for you to find out more about the things that matter most to Oakville. And in our present pandemic situation, paramedics have become far more important than they ever were, and Lord knows they've always been super important. Joining me today is Vanessa Wiest, and she is the president of OPSU Local 207, and that is our Halton Paramedic Union. And although I said Oakville and I've now said Halton, as long as you remember that we are a two-tier municipality with some services delivered at the Oakville level, the town level, and some delivered, the really big important ones, at the upper tier or Halton level, it all will make sense. And there's 6 or 7 other regions in Ontario organized the same way, so you don't get to feel special for this arrangement. Vanessa, welcome to the show. Um, you know, how long have you been a paramedic, and how did you become president? Like, who steps up to be president of a union anyway?
So first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate it and consider it an honor for you to ask me to be a part of the show. So I've been a paramedic for 9 years now. I just took over as president, actually, pretty much around the start of the pandemic. Just how kind of things rolled at the time. At the time, I was vice president, and the president had stepped down, so I took over as president during that time. So normally, the process is it's a voting process, right? And but because I was vice president, then automatically I stepped in as president in that time.
So how did you feel about, I mean, the way you told the story, it kind of appeals to my sort of ironic sense of humor. Oh, crisis arriving. Oh, I have to leave. Have fun.
Yeah,
How was it?
yeah. It was very overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot. My personality is one to jump in during crisis, so um, that's kind of what I did. That being said, it was definitely a big learning curve, a big challenge. New things were changing constantly. They still are, but especially at the beginning of the pandemic, it was constant changes, constant trying to figure out what it is that we're doing and how we're going to tackle this.
Well, yeah, all of us, I think, are by now very aware of the way, how did the medical experts have been calling it? Oh, yeah, they've been saying our knowledge of the disease is evolving. And as a
Mm-hmm.
result, the policies and the decisions have certainly evolved. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I remember, I hope it's not poor sport of me or anything to remember this, but I remember when the learned advice was you don't need a mask. And
Mm.
now, not only do you need one, but we're being made to wear them. So
Yeah.
we have had to be flexible
Mm-hmm.
and to learn not this idea of evolution. And so I am interested, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you here was, given the importance that you and your colleagues are playing, I wanted to hear how you've been dealing with the evolving situation. Uh, I imagine that there's some stress in doing the job that the paramedics do.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that we've been through, I remember when this started, my wife and I felt real fear because, it was this huge unknown, and it could be, anywhere from, we didn't know, it could be anywhere from the flu to the Spanish flu. And,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Spanish flu killed 50 or 100 million people, it's said. And COVID seems to be over 2 million now,
Mm-hmm.
both figures worldwide. So you guys must have had some some sense of fear or uncertainty or doubt. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that, and describe the chapters you've been through, if you have.
Yeah, so for sure there is definitely a layer of uncertainty, and I think it wasn't until we started getting the vaccines, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, that we started feeling, a little bit of ease from that uncertainty. So definitely at the beginning, we work in a job that there's tons of uncertainty. We never know what we're going to every day. What we might possibly come across, what we might possibly encounter. So that's not new to us, right? But this just put a whole nother level of uncertainty on top of that, right? And I think particularly for our members that are maybe a bit older and have other health problems, or they have family members that have health problems, immunocompromised family members, their fear was obviously of taking this home to their family members. We have one member that he has immunocompromised child, and he didn't see his child for about like 2 months, because especially at the beginning, because he had no idea, kind of, of what COVID was at the time, right? So he wanted to be safe, and keep his kids safe. So
now, have any of your members contracted the virus?
Yeah. So at the first wave of it, we had I think it was 5 members that had gotten COVID. The second wave, to be honest with you, I was one. I got COVID beginning of December. December, we saw quite a few of us. I think in total there was 6 of us that got it. So it's definitely, but that being said, I think overall, considering how exposed we are to the virus, I think we've done quite well in keeping ourselves safe and in keeping the public safe in that sense. So, it was bound to happen. So we're just fortunate that there's been no kind of serious health problems. Everyone's gone back to work since getting it. So we're just grateful for that.
I talked the other day to a well-known broadcaster with CTV in Ottawa, who he's like 44. He's the picture of a fit athlete, actually, and he contracted it, and he described the way he described it. It was a horrible thing to have. He lived, and he's very happy about it. He has a young son and a loving wife that he loves, and he persuaded me that it was worth avoiding if you're going to have it his way. You and your colleagues that had it, was the course of the experience really severe? I mean, they say it ranges from a bad cold to thinking you're going to die. And for some people, even dying. I mean, there was a 19-year-old died. Three people under 19 in Canada who died. What was it like for you guys?
So I can speak for myself. For my case, considering COVID-wise, it was considered mild. But that being said, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Even the mild case was pretty awful. So I was pretty bedbound for a couple weeks, and the amount of fatigue that kind of comes with it, and trying to get back to, that brain fog and everything else, right? So, it definitely wasn't enjoyable. And we did have one member that ended up in the hospital, right? So he has since recovered. But that's, you bring up a good point here. It's not just about the deaths too. It's about kind of the long-term effects possibly that we don't know yet, right? So that's another reason in itself to avoid getting this too, because that's still being studied right now. So
yeah, there is a certain amount of mystery about this still. I follow it pretty closely, as you might imagine, and I am astonished at the agility of this bug to adjust and keep coming. So how did it work out for the paramedics in terms of PPE? I know when this started a year ago, it seemed like there was a bit of a scramble everywhere to get PPE. Were you ever left feeling under-equipped, underprotected?
No, I don't. For us, no. We were very fortunate that we do have a very supportive council and region, and there wasn't a problem of getting, in our management, it was good in making sure that we had all the PPE that we needed. What we did kind of come across that caused some issues was the Ministry of Health changed a directive early on, because there was a fear of running out of N95s, which there was a legit N95, which is a higher protection mask shortage, right? So they changed a directive in which you had to do a 2-meter risk assessment on every call when you go in, and you decide at that point, is it okay for me to stick with the surgical mask, or do then I switch over to the N95? So there was a lot of kind of fear and trepidation around that, because a lot of, paramedics are very free thinkers, and, and they look into research and all that stuff, right? So there was a lot of kind of concern, like, is the surgical mask enough, or do we need an N95? But that was what was directed by the ministry at the time. But that being said, we haven't had a PPE shortage at any point, so we've been pretty lucky that way.
That's good to know. One of the things that I've become aware of is that kids watch, and kids look up, and they're always wondering, what will I be? What will I do? And a lot of people, I think, especially young people, are looking for ways to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And paramedic would strike me as something that might appeal to such a person.
Mm-hmm.
What does it take to become a paramedic?
So for your basic level paramedic, so that'd be your primary care paramedic. It's 2 years of college. And if they're in high school right now, I'd highly suggest that they focus on their sciences, because you'll need sciences to get into the paramedic program. It's very competitive to get into the paramedic program. And so, to trying to be mindful of your grades, that you might have some competition. Some people choose to take like a pre-health science, just prior to help them get in. And then if you want to advance more, so I'm an advanced care paramedic. So Halton region sends, a few people every year to go back to school for their advanced care. And that's another year of schooling of more advanced medical learning.
Well, I'm as a regional counselor myself, I'm very proud of the staff development measures that take place in any government, frankly, in any business or corporation. I think it's essential. Let's turn back to how you're coping with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, has there been any change in the calls that you do? In terms of the types, the numbers of types? Any changes in the trends, I guess I'm asking?
Yeah. So definitely at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw a very big decrease in the call volume, right? So people were scared to call, people were scared to go to the hospital because of all the unknowns. And then as things settled down, call volume kind of went back to normal. I would say it's, this would be anecdotally, but I would say the biggest kind of call I've seen an increase in is your mental health type calls. Your mental health and, maybe substance use issues and stuff like that, with the isolation. Definitely seen an increase in that. Oh, my cat, sorry. So
every show is better with a cat.
Yeah, he's nice. So other than that, I would say it's still your regular run-of-the-mill calls, right? And that being said, I'd just like to encourage people to not be afraid to call if they're unsure, and not be afraid to call because they're scared to go to the hospital, right? To still call us anyways, and we can kind of come and assess you and go from there.
Right, and our hospitals in Halton have been, as far as I know, and I do know a lot about it, super clean, super safe.
Yeah.
I know that, anyway, I haven't been afraid to go. I needed to go for a non-COVID issue, and so did my wife, and everything. And so we were your taste testers, and we can tell you that they're good.
Yes.
Let's talk about your role in, the province is struggling with distributing a short supply of vaccination. Where are you guys at in the queue? And are you where you should be?
I personally I think we are definitely where we should be. We're very fortunate in how things played out in the beginning of the year there, that not only did we get put in phase 1, but Halton Healthcare and Halton Public Health, they really recognize that, we should be vaccinated, in order to keep the public safe. We're visiting all these vulnerable people all the time. And, we're also too very exposed. So, I can't say the exact numbers, but as far as I'm aware, every paramedic in Halton Region has been that wants to be vaccinated has been vaccinated their first dose. So, which is a pretty awesome thing. So.
Mhm. And in theory, there's some number of days, 12 to 28 or 42. It changes. I'm sorry, it evolves. So I'm not sure what the timing of the second dose is, but in theory, you're lined up for the second when you get the first, I think, right?
Yeah, so I can speak for myself. When I got my first dose, then I was given an appointment for my second dose, right? So I've now gotten both doses. That being said, though, I have heard of some people being asked to get their next dose appointment pushed back because of this shortage, unfortunately, and also because we want to prioritize the long-term care and retirement home residents, as they are obviously our most vulnerable population.
Yes, I believe last week we finished the long-term care, or I shouldn't say that. The long-term care in Halton were finished, and I understand that health is moving to the vulnerable in the retirement homes, if I've got that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right. I think everybody wants to know what it's like to get this vaccine. They want to know, does it hurt? Is there a bigger reaction to other shots? Like I get the flu shot every year, and I
Mm-hmm.
almost always get a sore shoulder for two or
Mm-hmm.
3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I once had, early this year, I'll tell a story on myself. My doctor said she thought that one of the risks of COVID is that you might develop pneumonia. And she said there's 27 different kinds of pneumonia plus the COVID kind. And it'd be terrible if you got one of the other 27. If you get COVID and you get pneumonia, it'd be terrible if you also had one of the other ones. And so
Mm-hmm.
she prescribed me to get these vaccinations against these 27 known, or these 27 versions of pneumonia that have a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have black and blue and yellow patches on my shoulder after one of
Oh,
those.
wow. Okay. It's not
So
that bad, I'll say that.
I knew I'd had a shot, but it went away in a couple of days. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I think we're supposed to be tough enough to take that. But what was it
yeah.
like? Uh, is there a reaction? Does it hurt? Uh, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, so I can speak from the angle of I've gotten the vaccine. So the first dose, I actually didn't even feel it at all go in my arm. I felt no pain afterwards, and I felt absolutely no symptoms or anything. So after the second dose, I was a little bit of pain, but like nothing more than your flu vaccine, nothing to be concerned about. And I think, it's hard to say if it's like, kind of in your head or if it's actual symptoms, but I did feel a little bit of fatigue and stuff. So, but I can just speak that from the ones I've heard of that have gotten the second one, there has been kind of very mild, like maybe body aches and stuff like that, symptoms after your second dose, but nothing. And I can speak from the angle of actually having COVID.
Oh yeah,
As
how's it
much
compare to the real thing?
so I would take that over having COVID any day. So
Uh,
yeah.
I had early in January, I had a flu for like 10 days, and I was knocked out one day, couldn't get out of bed, compared to your story about 2 weeks. So
Mhm.
you made it sound, I translated that into, oh, it sounds like COVID might be 14 times worse than the flu,
Yeah.
or worse than the flu I had in last January.
Yeah, it's definitely like it knocked me down pretty good, and I'm someone that's pretty like go go go, and have a lot of energy, and it really knocked me down for a couple weeks. So
Now, are the paramedics involved in any of the vaccinating of other people?
yeah, so we're involved in all the vaccination clinics that are happening in every long-term care home right now. So it's our paramedics that are doing the actual vaccines themselves. And so we're now looking forward to starting the retirement homes. And my guess is too, we'll probably be going once we're kind of vaccinating community members, being part of that as well. So
Well, you'll be very well practiced by then, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yes.
So what's it like? Have you had refusals? If you've had refusals, has it been significant? What's your sense of that?
Yeah, I know it's very insignificant amount of refusals, I would say. So for a lot of the residents in long-term care, so it's your power of attorney that's making that decision for the resident. So because some might not have the mental capacity to make that decision. Um, so I think there was um, in the home that I went into the last time, there was only one person that refused on their own that had the mental capacity, and then one other person, but they were, expected to pass very soon. So that was the family's reasoning. So
Okay, well, it
yeah,
it makes sense in a way, doesn't it?
yeah.
Um, how can we in the public support your efforts to continue to roll out the vaccine for everybody that wants it?
I think doing what everyone's been doing. I think Halton Region's been really great and being supportive of us. And remaining. I know how frustrating it is to remain at home and to be diligent and of all the health and safety measures, wearing a mask and all that. Just remember that there is an end in sight, um, and to be patient. Because we're gonna keep on working really hard to get everyone vaccinated and get life back to normal.
Well, we appreciate that. And when you mentioned that there's been a it's been some uptick. You didn't say how much in mental health calls, for example. It made
Mm-hmm.
me wonder if there's increased mental health pressure on your team. How are you handling uh, if you're experiencing mental health stresses through going through this? So how do you handle it? What's going and are you supported as you should be?
Yeah, so there's definitely, for myself, it's definitely something I have to be mindful of. But I like to think that I'm like, can just keep on going and doing and all that stuff. But sometimes I have to take a step back and I have to do some self care. For me, I like to try to with physical activity, talking to people that understand. So and making sure I'm kind of voicing, kind of my stresses and stuff, what's going on in my life. So I definitely know paramedics have definitely felt an increase in stress throughout COVID, that's for sure. And it's another layer of mental health stress that they're experiencing. So, and there's definitely supports available. We've kind of reiterated that to, with EAP, peer support team, and there's counseling available and resources if needed. So.
EAP, what is that?
Oh, sorry. Employee assistance program.
Ah,
Yes. Yes.
so so there's a robust employee wellness concern at work.
Yeah, there's been the kind of so Halton has actually done a blitz about employee wellness. I think it really kind of started last month that they put stuff out there, and I know there's some stuff in works that to increase increase that and try to make sure people are getting the help and the stuff they need to remain mentally well throughout this.
Well, that's good to know too. Now,
Hmm.
I can imagine what a normal call for someone who needs hospitalization. I picture, you know, coming in, assessing, having one of those funny trolleys with the wheels that drop down and go into a truck and go into a hospital. I think we've all seen that in the movies.
Yes.
But how does a mental health call roll out? Like, can you walk us through what goes on? How does that work?
Yeah, so a mental health call, I would say a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say a lot. They all are different, right? What people are struggling with is all different. Let's say it's anxiety, right? They're having a panic attack. They haven't seen, their family or friends. They're stuck isolated, and sometimes they feel like they're actually having a heart attack, right? They sometimes feel like they can't breathe, you know, and so we get called, you know, with these symptoms, and we still check their heart and make sure all that's okay, because you never know, right? And you know, it's kind of just talking them through it, like, you know, what's going on in your life, what's happening, you know, where you know, can you assess, you know, access resources, right? So, and sometimes you do have to take these you know, these people to the hospital, and you know, and get more help there. You know, something I've seen too, unfortunately, is you know, suicides and or suicide attempts, and as we all know, this has impacted the economy as well, and there's been some job losses, and you know, I think that's some of the more tragic calls we've been on. You know, someone who's just lost their job or something like that, right? And then you know, either successfully, you know, died by suicide, or you know, it's been a serious attempt or whatnot, right? So
In a mental health call, if if the you know, if the behavior is such that you guys feel unsafe, do you
mhm.
have adequate backup? Do you have you know, resources to
Yeah.
fall back on to keep yourself safe?
Yeah, so usually with the dispatch criteria, like, so usually police actually come with us to these calls. We kind of collaborate on these type of calls together, you know, for safety reasons. And so, you know, safety is not usually an issue, but, you know, of course, you do get surprised by some calls that you weren't expecting, right? And you may have to take a step back and ask for police to come. So, mhm.
Well, thank you very much for spending this time with us and sharing all this, sharing your stories and the stories about your colleagues. I think you've achieved two things, if not more. Number one, you've made me and the rest of us, I think, appreciate what you do even more than we did before. And I also think you may have inspired young people to want to follow in your footsteps and join your team. And that would be a wonderful outcome, I think,
I think
because
so too.
you know, we do need you and we do appreciate what you do. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you very
And
much. I really appreciate it.
thank you for watching. And let me know. Email mayor@oakville.ca if there's something you'd like covered or someone you'd like interviewed. Thanks for being here.